Hey, today we're going to talk about our reserves so that you can make a better decision on who to vote for, the pineapple, the flower, or the palm. Singapore actually adopts a prudent fiscal policy where the government actually focuses on long-term economic growth and being very careful with spending. Now with this, it accumulates what we call a budget surplus. A budget surplus is when government revenues are greater than government expenditure. So if every year you keep having budget surpluses, then you will build a very large reserves over time. So GIC, Temasek Holdings and MAS actually invest our reserves. So by investing our reserves, we're actually going to get returns every year. So half of these returns we add back to the reserves, so the reserves keep growing. The other half of these returns is added to the government's budget, so the government has extra money to spend each year. So this money that's added back to the budget, we call it the NIRC. Our reserves actually act as financial gunpowder during times of economic crisis, like during the global financial crisis or during the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, we spent about $100 billion across 4 budgets to combat the negative impacts from the pandemic. Now, since the President's job is to act as a custodian for our reserves, the President will need to ask these questions when faced with a request to draw down from our reserves. The first question is, why is the government asking to draw down our reserves? Is that a reasonable request? Is there a major crisis that needs to be dealt with that requires the reserves? Number 2, how much is the government asking to draw down? Is the government asking for too much? How much will be enough? How much will be too much? So the President will need to actually make a decision on whether the request is too exorbitant. And the last question is, what are the financial implications on the government's budgets in the future if too much reserves being drawn down and it reduces the amount of reserves and therefore the capability of the reserves to generate sufficient returns? So these are the questions that the President will need to be thinking about when facing with such a request. So happy voting, and I hope you make the right choice.